All right, welcome back to another Delay of Game podcast, NBA podcast. Today we'll be basically looking over our impression of the season opener. Two big games that we'll be excited to see again later on in the season. Warriors-Nets in the Battle of LA. Now, the win-loss column doesn't really matter right now. It's first game. None of the teams were playing at 100%. The closest probably the Clippers. Kawhi played 34 minutes, which is kind of surprising. But what are your impressions? What did you like when you watched either game, I guess? Because win-loss doesn't matter, but there must be some things you're like, hey, I like that, and that's something I'd like to see more of going forward.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, today we got to see our first taste of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving for sure as a top two duo in the Eastern Conference Finals. And we can just Eastern Conference, and we can just see that their dominance is just gonna be very hard to stop. I really like what I saw from those two and the whole Brooklyn Nets core. And the Warriors is an unfortunate setting. You have Klay Thompson out. The young players are just getting together still. The chemistry still building. But, it's just the first game of the season. And for the Battle of LA, I'm excited for this battle to continue. Like every time the Lakers and Clippers are playing, I'm going to be looking forward to it. The Lakers, I just want to hear your thoughts on this, but they seemed a bit dysfunctional to me. Lots of turnovers, What are your thoughts on the games?
I think it was Kevin Harlan who was commentating it, and he mentioned it's first game back, right? They're the champs. I don't think they're really expected to. At the first quarter they came out of the gate a little bit, laxed, a little bit too relaxed, and they have a bunch of new pieces that they were trusting. I believe Dennis Schroeder started, and then they brought on Harrell a little later on. But yeah, it's a new team, right? It's gonna take some time to get used to, and at some points they were just taking it too easy, a little too easy. Obviously, it's the first game. They didn't go 100%. LeBron played 28 minutes, right? There's bound to be turnovers, bound to be mistakes. But overall, I liked what I saw. Montrezl Harrell fit perfectly with playing alongside Anthony Davis, right? I love that duo. That as soon as Anthony Davis got it at the post up, right? Montrezl Harrell was already in the paint, and as soon as you double Anthony Davis, it's a free open layup for Montrezl Harrell. So that's a dangerous inside duo. And yeah, the Battle of LA, it's going to be really interesting this year. I still think the Clippers, Paul George, 33 points, big night for him.
For sure.
Definitely for his confidence as well. Going forward, do you think he's going to be able to keep that up? Or do you think it's just that one game, and then the rest of the season he's going to be pandemic P again?
No, I think Paul George, he's going to keep the streak ongoing.
Okay.
I was watching an interview about 2 weeks ago, and he said this summer, he really tuned in. He got back to his trainer, which he had in his MVP season, quote unquote, in 2018. Right. He was a contender. He kept on listening to Kobe Bryant, Black Mamba motivation. So I think Paul George, he heard all the hate over Pandemic P. I think he's just going to turn all that energy into a breakout year. So I definitely think that he's going to lead the Clippers very far. And I think him and Kawhi, this is going to be the year that they mesh together very well under the new coach, Ty Lue, which of course brings championship DNA. So what are your thoughts on Paul George as well? Because I think Paul George and Kawhi, they're going to be a breakout duo this season if this continues.
Right. Maybe breakout might be a strong word, because I don't think they could get that much better in one season, right?
Yeah.
But I do think we might start seeing a little more consistency out of Paul George. Last year, Clippers were one of the least consistent, in my opinion, teams because they had injuries. They had players on rest. The roster varied. Their starting lineup varied from day to day. right? Because you never know. Kawhi might take a day off. Paul George was still recovering from his shoulder surgery last year. So we never knew about them. This year, I'm expecting them to play together a lot more, spend a lot more time together on the court, and that would develop some more consistency going into the playoffs. So you wouldn't have to rely on Kawhi getting you 30 a night. And instead, Paul George can score. Lou Will can hopefully score. And there was some talk about Lou Will being traded over the offseason. But if he stays around, we're hoping that these guys will be able to play offense together. And they'll be a lot more comfortable playing offense together come around playoff time. And it's a long season, right? It's still a long season, 70-plus games, 72 games, I think. So they'll have plenty of time to, get their act together. That being said, the Warriors. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'll just say quickly. For the Lakers, I noticed that the absence of either JaVale McGee or Dwight Howard may affect them because now you have Anthony Davis as their only big man that can play the center. Do you think that's going to affect them later on in the future?
I think getting
or is it
smaller.
Too early to tell?
Yeah, they did get smaller. They lost JaVale McGee they gave him to Cleveland, I think, and then Dwight Howard went to Philly. Last year, what worked for them is because they were so big, right? They were so big, and Houston couldn't beat them because Houston was simply too small, right? Their biggest guy on the court was Robert Covington, and they were able to keep up with Jokic. So having less guys who can guard those big men like Jokic, to guard those bigs like Joel Embiid, to guard those guys like Giannis, is definitely going to hurt them. Because what worked last year was, hey, like the league, we thought the league was going small, right? We thought they were going small, and we thought Houston offense might potentially be the future of the NBA, where you switch everything, it's small ball, everybody stays out of the paint, 5 out. But Lakers proved them wrong. Lakers proved that Dwight Howard, who we thought would barely get any minutes anymore, right? We thought he was way past any good years out of him. Suddenly had a great year with Lakers, a solid year as a role player. So I think they're going to miss those big men, right? Montrezl Harrell really struggled to guard Jokic in that Western semi. And that's one of the reasons why Clippers weren't able to keep up later on. And there was some, mental stuff going on probably. I don't know. I wasn't in the locker room. But yeah, they're going to have to find... But they did add Gasol.
Yeah.
So, they might be
Can't
safe
forget about
there.
him.
Yeah. I forgot Gasol existed. Thought he was in Barcelona. So looking at that Warriors Nets game, I think Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni really showed how good of an offensive-minded coaches they are, right? Because their offense works seamlessly. We thought, Spencer Dinwiddie couldn't play along Kyrie because they're both the same type of player, right? But they worked together seamlessly. Spencer Dinwiddie shared a ball. Kyrie shared the ball. Everybody was moving the ball on offense. Everybody played hard on defense. It was a great night for the Nets. Any other things to add?
As I said earlier, this is going to be a very scary team for other teams to play. The coaching staff, the players, the addition of Steve Nash as a coach, I think is a very smart move. Obviously he was a 2-time MVP winner. His style when he was playing, he liked to move the ball. And as you said, everyone was playing seamlessly, defense. And you have the two biggest stars, not of the whole league, but like top 10, top 15, whatever, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. You can't forget that you have two super big options that can either pull up from 3, cross you over. Anyone can shoot the game winner. So obviously it was just one game, but the first game that I saw, very good impressions. And of course, I know they were playing against a weaker Warriors team, but once they start playing harder teams, I think they'll still keep this performance up and still put up effective stats.
Yeah, They looked really good, gave a great impression. Karis LeVert off the bench as a sixth man. That was a great decision. I
Yeah,
think
great
Karis
player, great
LeVert
player.
was destroying, and he will continue to destroy any of those second unit lineups out there, any of them, and that's something that their Nets fans can look forward to. Um, Golden State, I mean, I really struggled watching Golden State play offense because whenever Andrew Wiggins gets the ball, I feel like he thinks he can just ISO and like post up every single time. He got
Yeah.
locked up by Joe Harris, which I think is concerning. Joe Harris was able to force turnovers out of him. Wiggins just doesn't see. We thought, maybe the Warriors can get some solid offense out of him, right? Maybe get him to move the ball. He looks like the same Wiggins in the Timberwolves lineup.
Yeah.
He's not moving the ball. He's ISOing. He's shooting these tough mid-range shots. I liked the ball. I liked Warriors offense when the ball was out of his hands, when he was catch and shoot, right? I think he was open and he made one spot up three. I'm like, hey, that works. He shouldn't be holding the ball more than 2 seconds. So yeah, that's something I really didn't like. Is there anything particularly you didn't like seeing during either of the two games?
I mean, as you said earlier as well, the Lakers, Kevin Harlan said, it's just the first game and that they'll get on their feet. But I don't know. It just kind of felt, quote unquote, embarrassing to watch them for a second because there was just some turnovers. I just didn't see the energy. I saw a lack of energy from the Lakers. But I know that they'll be at top. I know they're going to win back-to-back championships. And again, talking about Andrew Wiggins, yeah, the ball shouldn't be the main playmaker. Just catch and shoot. He started the game with 2 missed 3-pointers and he missed a wide open layup. That's not a very great start. So they just really need to see how he can effectively help the team without, making them worse.
Yeah.
And the Warriors, they were 3-time champions, 2 times in a row. I just wish that they could get back to that, but I like Stephen Curry personally. I'm not gonna lie. I hope him the best. Steve Kerr, he's still a top coach in my opinion. It's just the players, just injuries. Klay Thompson is out. So I didn't really like what I saw from the Warriors as well. I don't think they're gonna be like 7th or 8th seed. By the
Really?
time playoffs come, I don't think they're gonna be top 5. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's unfortunate to say because I want them to be at top, but I know it's just one game, but the first game that I saw, that was a blowout. It was a blowout. Could have been closer.
Yeah. And granted, they're also missing Draymond Green, so that's huge.
Draymond Green, yeah. I forgot.
I'm really, after this first game, I'm pretty sold on James Wiseman. I really like what I saw from him. He obviously he had some first game jitters. I think I missed the beginning of the game, but the first play I watched him was him taking the ball paint to paint, and then Kevin Durant draws an offensive foul off of him. So obviously, his basketball senses, need a little bit of polishing, but that's because he's only played 2 college games. He hasn't played organized basketball for a while. But he looked really good. Great on defense. He was long, covered a lot of ground, and he showed his skill set consistently throughout the night. Do you think he's a front runner for Rookie of the Year, or do you have someone else in mind?
I would say LaMelo Ball is front runner just based off of preseason action. But James Wiseman, he's filling in his role well. The Warriors just need a big man, get in there, give us buckets, play defense, and that's what he does. And that's what he did last night. If he continues to keep that up and plays efficient and consistent, he can easily win Rookie of the Year. And that's why the Warriors took a chance on him. Even though he played 2 college games, they know what he can do. His skill set, is up the roof. He has a lot of potential. So I think if he keeps playing consistent, if he averages a double double at least, rookie of the year for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Easy front runner.
I think he also has one of the higher floors in this draft class.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're guaranteed to get a rim runner out of him, right? Anything extra, that's a bonus. You know, anything extra, like his floor spacing ability. Maybe he can stretch out his shot. That's a bonus. But he's guaranteed a rim runner. He showed that last night. We're just about wrapped up here, but tonight, some big games tonight. Toronto versus New Orleans. That would be interesting to watch. We get to watch Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal against the new Philadelphia 76ers tonight.
Okay. Very exciting.
There's reports that Houston Rockets, James Harden, DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall will not be starting or playing in the season opener. So that would be due to some COVID tests. What are you most excited for tonight as far as the schedule goes? There's Boston versus Milwaukee, which is huge.
Phoenix Suns, Dallas Mavericks.
I'd actually agree. That was at the bottom of the list. 7:30 Pacific time.
I think that's the one I'm probably most excited for, just to see, the new Phoenix Suns and Luka Doncic. He could easily win MVP. So just first impressions, I'm excited to see how that game goes. It's going to be a great game.
Yeah, and I think you have two potential MVP candidates in those two teams. You have Devin Booker, who might have a really good year because of Chris Paul.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. And what you'd think of being MVPs this year, Giannis, who has to average way over what he's been averaging before to be placed in that MVP level because of MVP. He's just been MVP for the last 2 years, and there might be some bias.
Yeah, and there's
him,
more candidates are coming through.
Right, and there's a lot more candidates now. I think there's the Portland-Utah game. I'm excited to see Damian Lillard on that newly constructed Portland Trailblazers team who actually has defense. That's going to be really nice to see. So a lot of exciting games tonight. But Dallas Mavericks, Phoenix Suns, really, really excited for that one.
That's the one that catches my eye.
All right. And that about wraps it up. All right. Thank you, E-Man.
Yeah, no problem.
That's it.
Opening night impressions.
Tune in later on for more content. We're going to be posting soon again. So stay around. Stick around. Subscribe. Like.
Subscribe. Yes, sir.